Jay Adan. I've been a modeler kind of most of my life, and I actually got into miniature painting in the late 70s. It was sort of a thing, where we were all going to play D&D, and in order to play D&D, you needed to have your character miniature, and so we all bought our little minis back when they looked like crap, and painted them all with enamels and and really horrible brushes. And essentially, I've been kind of doing it ever since. It's always been a hobby for me. But I mean, in addition to that, I've always done other kind of modeling work, other kind of models in addition to miniatures. So there was a period where I was really into World War II tanks.
Nice.
Mostly German stuff, as like everybody, is into that, but a little bit of everything. Some planes, not so much cars, but I would do a few of them. And then, of course, after the Star Wars movies took off, I was doing a lot of science fiction stuff, but really, like Star Wars stuff specifically, and some Battlestar Galactica. And so that kind of stuck with me forever too.
So your background comes from a lot of scale modeling, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My first airbrush I got when I was a kid, and it was a Badger. It was a Badger airbrush, and I was, using the little air cans, and that were awful, and you had to submerge them in warm water to get them to work for more than 5 minutes, and yeah. So I mean, I've been doing that for a long, long time. It's always been a hobby. It's always been something I love. But the thing that was really interesting for me was discovering. So I guess I would have been in middle school, like 8th grade, and this was when I was really heavily into the World War II tanks, and I always wanted to be able to do something else with them. Like I didn't like just building them and sitting them on the shelf and they collect dust. It's like, it would be cool if there was like a game that you could play with these tanks. And so a friend of mine and I used to talk about it all the time, about like, we should make this game where we can play with these tanks, and we'd play in the backyard. And we had no idea that miniatures gaming was a hobby that's been around forever.
Right.
And when we discovered it, we were just completely blown away. Like, oh, we thought we had this really great idea, and it turns out that people do this all the time.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get into that as a hobby until Warhammer 40,000 first came out in its Rogue Trader form.
Yeah.
And that's when I just decided that was something that I really wanted to do. Hey again. So, you ever have one of those days where it just seems like you can't get anything done? Well, today was one of those days. I did get some stuff done by making these sort of craggy areas with a hot wire, and I kind of like how that turned out. So, and I'm really interested in back from an Orc war bike, and so that is what I'm doing. And so this is really just an introduction to show this project. Ilfana's
Ifalna.
See, that's right.
I've had plenty of mispronunciations for it from the...
So your YouTube channel is Dullspork, right? Why don't you tell us a little about your channel, what you do there, what kind of videos you make and stuff like that?
Sure, yeah. It started out as sort of just a personal thing to kind of post whatever, like most YouTube channels do. And then when I got serious about doing commission painting work a couple of years ago, I decided that what I really should be doing is showing my work in progress. So it kind of turned into a work in progress thing. And then I would periodically do tutorials. I mean, honestly, it's the tutorial stuff is what people really want to see, and I understand that. But since I'm doing the commission painting, the progress reports are really the most important thing to my clients.
Right.
So there's always this interesting tug of war between the things I know people want to see and the things that I kind of have to do. So it's a little bit of all of that. And yeah, right now it's I'm trying to focus a little more on airbrushing videos because those are really popular. Everybody really wants to know. Like I still go and watch a lot of airbrushing videos. Your videos are great on that topic. So and I you know, YouTube for me has been kind of a revelation. I've spent years learning to do painting and to get to the point where I feel like I'm really competent at it, if not good, and it's taken me forever to get there. And I feel like if I'd had YouTube when I was a kid, I could have skipped a whole lot of the early steps and you know learning these little bits and pieces, one tiny step forward at a time. And now you can just go online and go, well, how do you do layering? How do you use an airbrush? These are all things that I mostly had to do myself, or I'd look at books, and books were never particularly good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Like
back then you had to do something called reading. That's why.
But it's so much different having somebody explain how you do something and then watching somebody do it. It's like it's huge.
It is huge difference. Yeah, because a lot of times I know people read and they don't really get what the whole purpose of it is. Because a lot of stuff that we are talking about as airbrushers and we're saying, we're introducing to the wargaming community is that they're not really new. Half the stuff isn't even new. I mean, most of the stuff isn't new. It's been applied and done in the scale modeling hobby, which you know about, right? I mean, you probably look at my video and go, oh, look, a new technique. And then you're like, that's not new. We've been doing that, doing tanks, and stuff like that. So I find that really funny.
It is funny, but at the same time, like people want to know, and they may not even think. Even sometimes when I go looking for things, I try to be very specific. Like how you might do a search for airbrushing miniatures, and you not think that, oh, you know what, I could learn something from somebody who's doing nails, or somebody who's doing tanks or cars or full-size cars, right? We're doing graphics on the sides of cars. There's things you can learn from them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But you're not necessarily looking at it that way. You want to know, like, well, how do I apply this specifically to painting miniatures? Exactly. And there are some differences. So
yeah, there is. So any future plans for your channel other than just doing what you're doing?
What I would actually love to be able to just focus on the tutorial stuff. And so at some point, if I can make that happen, I will. But, we'll see. For now, I think I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. So the first time I picked up an airbrush, I can't even remember how old I was. I'm guessing 6th or 7th grade, honestly. And I had an old Badger airbrush, I think like a 150 or something. I can't even remember for sure. And it was really cool to experiment with camouflage, because again, doing a lot of tanks, and looking through these books, and they're telling you all these different techniques for painting camouflage. So I still remember, I think my first camouflage job was I created a paste out of flour and water, and I did a base coat, and then I glued cotton balls to the and all over the tank, and then I used as a mask, right? And then I went and airbrushed my next color over that, and I took those off, and it was like, oh my god, I can't believe how cool this is. Right. And I have no idea how it actually was in reality, but thinking back on it, like, I'm still seeing it through my 6th grade, 7th grade eyes, and it still seems like it was this fantastic paint job that I had done, and I'm sure it was awful. my commission painting really got going a couple of years ago, and I was actually unemployed at the time. I mean, I had the store, but I wasn't really working here full time, and I had just been out of another job, and was just sort of looking for a way to sort of help pay the bills. And so I was really afraid that I was going to start doing it and then feel like I was trapped by it, you know, and you could feel like, well, now my hobby's a job and I hate it.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen at all. But the funny thing is, like, I had actually on and off been painting for money since like the 1980s, mostly off than on. But like when I bought my very first VCR back in the day with money that I made selling painted minis, but it was different. It wasn't commission work. It was I would paint stuff for myself and eventually get tired of it all and then sell it at a game convention or something. So
right.
yeah, it's a little bit different. So now after the first year, I built up enough of a clientele that between new people, new clients coming in, and old clients coming back for return work, that I'm pretty much booked all year long.
Nice.
Usually about 2 to 3 months in advance. Like right now, I'm finishing up a Dark Vengeance project. In fact, it just like everything got done this morning, just the final clear coat, and then after that I have some old Reaper Doom minis. I have a client that loves those minis, and it's been really fun to paint those. And a funny story, and this is a weird aside, but I actually had a bunch of those back in the day, like when they were still new, and I got them in exchange for creating Reaper Mini's first website, or maybe even their second website. I'm not sure, but this was like the early days of the internet. So,
nice.
So that was kind of a funny thing. And I'd painted a little of them back then, but now once I'm done with this project, I think I will have painted every one of the Doom minis that Reaper ever made. So that's kind of fun.
Cool. Very cool.
And then I have a BattleTech mini, a big Omega that I'm going to be painting, and then I have a couple of Reaper Fantasy minis, and that's, I think, got me scheduled out for the next couple of months. And I have like 2 or 3 other projects that I'm talking about with other people, maybe the Hobbit starter set, and maybe, what was some of the other, well, actually I can't remember offhand what some of the others. I'm kind of hoping to get the Hobbit one.
Well, you never know, man.
But I want to do Commander.
Yeah. Hey, you get it, man. I'm telling you, I heard great things about it. I'm really excited to get that one too. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of hoping somebody commissions me to do it, because maybe then I can just get it out of my system.
So then you have to actually buy yourself a whole army or anything, huh? Okay, so as you've already mentioned, you have a store. Actually, you mentioned to me off camera that you had 2 stores, right?
I do, yeah. So Greenfield Games actually started life as Griffin Games, is in Greenfield, Mass. We opened the first store in November of '99, so it's been around for a while. And then we opened the second store in Hadley, Mass, in August of last year. And it's been it's cool. When I was in high school, me and one of my gaming buddies talked about opening a store back then, and we actually scouted locations and did some research, and nothing ever came of it. But it was always one of those things in the back of my mind, like, I'd really like to have my own game store, and to actually have one is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have 2 partners who are fantastic. There's no way I could do this on my own. It just wouldn't happen. And so between the 3 of us, we all sort of bring something to the table, and it's great. It's fantastic.
You guys have a website?
Yeah, greenfieldgames.com. And we have a Facebook page for both stores. So, if you just went on to Facebook and search for Greenfield Games, you'd find us there too.
Thanks a lot, Jay. Thank you for joining here with us. So go and check out Jay's channel. It's really cool. Got lots of awesome videos, and he's doing a lot of airbrushing tutorials, right? So, yeah, that's it. So thanks for joining us, and check you guys out later. Goodbye.
All right, thanks, man.